Hi, and welcome to another episode of Sustainment TV. I'm your host, David McDonald. And before we get into today's video, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It'll help the channel to grow and improve upon what I do. So, without further delay, let's get right into today's video. Alright, Sustainment TV, I'm on my way to get ready for this interview. There's a local recording artist that's in the area. I'm headed to his studio. His name is Monty Sweet. He's a recording artist and he's an entrepreneur. I've been trying to set this up for a while, so it should be pretty cool. So get here and get set up. I'll be right back with you. Alright, Sustainment TV, as promised, we are live from Wicked Chicken Studios in Chesapeake, Virginia. We have with us recording and performing artist Monty Sweet. How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, doing well.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's like schedules just never lined up, and I'm glad it worked out today.
Yeah, we finally got it together. Great.
Good to see you. Tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Monty Sweet. I am a soul blues recording artist. I have a studio here in Chesapeake called Wicked Chicken Studios. I've played music pretty much all my life. For the last 35 years, I've been playing as a professional. I took a long hiatus to have children and start a family. But in the last 4 years, I've been back on the scene and kind of pushing forward with a new outlook on my original material. So I'm kind of doing going a little bit backwards into my roots, blues, jazz, soul, gospel, and stuff like that. So I've been doing a solo project by myself and trying to bring those songs out authentically in the way that I see to do them. But yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
All right.
Yeah.
So okay, what first made you want to be a musician? You know, what got you to that?
Well, I actually come from a kind of a musical family, and the way I say that is my mother and father weren't musicians. They didn't play, but my great uncle was a classical composer. And he was kind of a famous classical composer. Montevani's orchestra is what he was. So I kind of came from that lineage almost. And like I said, my parents didn't play any music, but my older relatives, my second uncles and aunts, they all did that. And I had an uncle, my uncle Ralph D'Amato. He was a harmonica player, and I remember as a kid I would go to his house and he would play this harmonica, and he did mainly kind of 1920s style chromatic harmonica, and that just thrilled me. So I started diving into wanting to play music as a young kid. So of course my parents got me a guitar and a drum set, and all the things that kids get, all the little different pieces, the toy kits and all that. I started doing that, and I got hooked. I got hooked. I've always been kind of a creative person. I've written poetry when I was younger. I did a lot of writing, short stories and things like that. So music was just a perfect extension as I got into my teen years to impress girls and impress the rest of the world. And so that's what I did. Yeah. I started out in a punk rock band, believe it or not, called Altered Gray. And this is in the early 80s. And then from there, moved into a couple other groups and finally landed in a band called Stonehouse. And that was probably the biggest success that I had in my musical career. We toured all over the world. We played on stages with a lot of great people. Black Crowes, Allman Brothers, Coco Taylor, Albert Collins, who are all blues people. We were kind of a Southern blues jam band before it was cool to be a jam band. So that was it. That kind of led me. I just got the bug, got hooked. Immediately. Music was just a great way to express how I felt. And as a kid, I was always pretty wide-thinking person. I thought a lot of crazy ideas, and it was a good way for me to funnel those ideas into something positive and creative and productive too at the same time. So that's kind of why I pursued it.
All right. So with us both being musicians, people try to relate. Say, oh, I played music in high school, marching band, this and that and that and this. But obviously, you continued on. So as far as music production, what made you get into music production?
Well, like I had said earlier, I was a performing artist, and we toured all over the world. And I had met somebody and decided at that time in my life that I wanted to start a family. So I started a family, had some children, and that wasn't very helpful as far as touring and taking off and going all over the world. So at that time, I started diving into production. I had a little tiny home studio. And what I mean by home studio, one in my basement. It wasn't a full-blown commercial studio, but I started diving into production, and I found that that was as creative as being a songwriter and a performing artist. It was just as much fun for me. So I kind of started diving into the production end of it. I've always written songs, so that was another way for me to record songs, write them, and even though I couldn't perform them in tour, I was able to try to sell them. This was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so I had Nashville right down the street, and that was a good way for me to shop my music out and see what I could, see if I could still have an outlet for playing music creatively. So that's that's how I started in production, and that, like anything else, being on stage is addictive. Well, being in a studio and having your ideas come to fruition in full studio production is also very addictive. And so I really started getting into it. I started studying and learning and buying equipment and doing everything I could to try to build a studio space for myself and for the other musicians that I was still friends with that I worked with. So yeah, that's how I started in production. And it hasn't ended. I'm still doing it now. Still increasing, still trying to do more.
Gotcha. All right. Now, it definitely sounds like you have a lot of musical influences. What would you say is your favorite genre of music?
Oh, that's a really tough one. As somebody who grew up in a classical music family, I certainly appreciate classical music, but really I'd have to say jazz and blues are probably my favorite. Funk, jazz, and blues, and a fusion of them. So fusion, jazz, funk, blues, more of that rootsy kind of Americana, down home, actual instruments type of thing. That's what really gets me moving. I'm a sucker for horn sections. So anything with a horn section in it. So generally, yeah, big band, jazz, blues, funk. But yeah, I love everything. I grew up in South Florida, most of my life. So Latin music is a huge influence in me. And the jazz, Latin jazz. But really, yeah, I think funk, blues, and jazz is really at the core of what I do. But I can't forego any of the other styles of music because I love everything. I grew up in the 80s, 70s and 80s listening to classic rock, Led Zeppelin and all types of bands like that. So that's in my DNA as well, but I've always kind of attributed it back to the jazz and blues influences of, my music that I'm writing. And those bands too, in those days, the rock bands, they had the same influences. They listened to, if you listen to all the old classic rock bands, and even some of the current bands today, they still take cues from all the roots music of American roots music, jazz, blues, soul, gospel. That all kind of comes back to really create that American sound, I think, honestly. So.
Can you briefly describe what your creative process is like?
Yeah, absolutely. I keep my phone nowadays with phones, but back in the day I used to keep a recorder with me because that was it. I don't care what anybody says. If you have an idea and you say I'll write it down later, it will flee. It'll be gone. It's gone. Absolutely gone. So yes, nowadays I have my phone, my iPhone, and that has a recorder on it, which is at the moment filled with probably 300 ideas that I get throughout the day. My wife kind of jokes with me. She says, your attention span is, you're like a squirrel. You're going all over the place. But I do get ideas all the time, and I'm one of those, like a musical pack rat. I don't want to forget any of them or get rid of any of them because they all turn into something eventually. So I do that. My creative process is. Music is in my head all the time. I'm always singing, humming, doing something, playing drums on my body or something, snapping or thinking of a melody. And honestly, everything around me kind of feeds into that. I hear birds chirping, or I'll hear the rhythm of somebody speaking in a conversation with me, and it cues me to think of, wow, that's a really nice, cool rhythm. I should do something with that. sometimes it's a little annoying. I say a little, I don't know what they call it, attention deficit or whatever it is, but I definitely have that. I definitely am thinking all the time. It's a part of me. So my process is taking that, recording it to something, and then wherever I find a quiet space, then I'll sit down generally with an acoustic guitar or a piano, and I'll work out melodies and work out rhythms. I'm a very rhythmic person, so a lot of my music is very rhythmically driven. So I may work it out on a piano or a guitar, but mainly rhythmically. And then at that point, the melodies start popping in my head, and I'll just flesh them out. And then sometimes the song just comes to me like that. The song "Heaven" that I just released, that just came to me like that, out of nowhere. I was sitting on the back porch with my wife, and it started playing in my head. And so, of course, I had to stop my coffee date with her on the back porch and run in the house and grab the acoustic guitar and start playing stuff for her. But generally speaking, those ideas happen. I record them onto my phone, and then I go back, and I have a certain time of the day that I dedicate to writing. And I'll take those ideas and try to develop them.
What should the music world expect from you in the next year or two?
Okay, well, that's a great question, because I have some solo releases right now. I have a song called "Sweet Monty," which is out on Spotify. I released a song called "Heaven," which I wrote for my wife. That same song I was just talking about, that just came out a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. And I have one more song called "Blink of an Eye" that I'm going to release solo. Now, all my solo releases, I've played all the instruments on them. I've played the drums, the bass, the guitar, the piano in my studio, Wicked Chicken Studios. I've done everything, orchestrated it myself, performed it, and played it all live myself. But I am forming a band right now called the Magnificent Groove Collective with a couple brothers of mine, Tyler James and Tin Caps. And we have a really great trio right now that we're building into a bigger band. We're adding a percussionist and a horn sections, and we're going to take those original songs and take those out next year and hopefully take the world by storm. That's the idea. And it's right along the same lines of the music that I'm writing. It's funky blues, jazz, funk, blues, soul, gospel influenced, but with their twist involved too. So the idea of the next phase of my career is to take a band and put them together, people that I love and trust, and let us all write together. And that's the great thing about this new band that we're putting together. We write together, and they take my songs and interpret them themselves. And now we have a truly original kind of sound to us now. So that's what's coming up in the next year. Right. And then after we do that, we're going to put an EP together this winter with the Magnificent Groove Collective. And then in the spring, I'm going to put an acoustic album, an acoustic EP out myself. Just music that doesn't fit with the group that we're doing, that I still want to express and bring out. A couple songs, a song called "Marigold" and another song called "Raining in Chattanooga," which are kind of melancholy type songs. You know, and I'm gonna release those next spring. So, but yeah, that's my plans for the next year. There's a lot going on. We got a lot going on. Big hopes, high hopes. But you got to shoot for the stars.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, so okay, you name previous projects and current projects and future projects. Where can people go to find your music?
Okay, well, I'm all over all the digital outlets. Spotify, it's Monty Sweet, just like it sounds. SWEET, Monty, MONTY, and Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. I have a YouTube channel too with video. Facebook, Instagram. I don't do any of the other TikTok and all that stuff. I'm an older guy, so I feel out of place on TikTok, but I don't do any of those. But mainly Facebook, Instagram is where my social media is, and then all the music outlets that digital outlets, they're out there. Even SoundCloud. I'm even on SoundCloud still, which is, believe it or not, I love it. Those smaller outlets are actually more promising for roots music. I think they're not as saturated with pop music and digital, a lot of digital music. So those roots bands that are out there that do blues and do jazz, acoustic music, Americana, some of those smaller digital outlets are actually really good, get a lot of exposure. So, but I'm on all the digital platforms. So yeah, definitely. And I have MontySweet.com. If you look up, if you're not sure where to go or where the links are, just go to MontySweet.com. I have all my links there, all my information there. I have my EPK there, which is my press releases and all that, pictures and videos and all that stuff there too at MontySweet.com. So yeah.
All right.
Man, thank you so much.
Yeah, we're actually going to give you the last word of the day. We're going to transition here just a second. You can give us a couple bars on acoustic guitar.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to.
All right, hold on just a second. We'll be right back.
6 o'clock in the morning, perfect silence at the break of dawn. Coffee pot on the stovetop, the chicken pecking out in the lawn. I hear the bluebirds singing, I see you looking at the back porch, girl. Is this real or a daydream? Honey, pinch me just to make sure. You were there with some big hug in the morning when my planets collide. Patient babe is your virtue when your pants darkness in your eye. Sit down on my knee, girl, and let me squeeze you with all my might. Out there is a rat race, right here ain't nothing but right. Oh baby, heaven is all mine, right here and right now. Heaven in your eyes, heaven's right here when it's next to. Heaven is here, you see, right here in you and me. Heaven ain't no dream, heaven's right here when it's next to me.
Oh yeah, Monty Sweet. Oh, so sweet. Appreciate that, sir. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you look in the video description, I'll have all of his information to find him on social media, to look for his music and all that good stuff. So comment, like, share, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.